Okay, so you have a passing interest in retro gaming. You don't have the time to go out and collect the original consoles. You don't want to get into stuff like the Retro Duo, which I don't recommend this console. And you don't want to go out to yard sales looking for old Super Nintendo games, looking for old Genesis games. It's just not something that you're interested in. You just want to play the old games on a comfortable controller that makes it fun to play using emulation. Now, of course, there's a lot of PC gaming controllers on the market. Here's an awesome one by Logitech. It's actually the spitting image of the PlayStation 2 controller. You have your two trigger buttons up on top, dual analog sticks. It's actually a little bit more comfortable than the PlayStation 2 controller. I actually really recommend this if you're into PC gaming. However, for emulating the old school systems, it is a little bit awkward because the D-pad's a little too mushy, and honestly, it just, if you want to use the L&R triggers for the Super Nintendo, these ones are too close, these are too far, and you don't play the games the way they were intended to be played if you use this controller. It gives you that not so fresh feeling. That was totally the wrong thing to say. Now, of course, the concept is nothing new. They've had PC gaming controllers in the past that emulated the old consoles. You would see USB Sega Genesis controllers or Super Nintendo controllers, so on and so forth. And they would be abominations like this Retro Duo. Now, granted, this isn't for a computer, but this is probably the worst controller ever made, even next to the Atari 5200. Like, this thing is so bad. Well, honestly, okay. It's not that bad. The L&R triggers are fine. These buttons are okay. Even the select and start are okay. They're actually rubber, which is surprising. But this D-pad is the D-pad of death. It cuts into your fingers. It's mushy. It gets stuck. It almost feels like they have like maple syrup in there. You can't game with it. It's impossible. This is the only thing worthwhile to do with this controller is to find different ways to light it on fire. Avoid this thing at all costs. Okay, so at this point you're frustrated. All you want to do is play Super Mario on your damn computer while you're on break at work. Nothing special, right? I got an answer for you, and Stone Age Gamer has an answer for you, and I am pleasantly surprised with this product. It is the Tomee Super Nintendo USB Controller. Okay, let's take a look at the box here, honestly. Let me open it up and show you what's inside. If I cannot spaz out and open it. Oh, here it is, okay. You get the bag for the controller, and nothing else, that's it. But that's okay though, honestly, you don't need anything else. You don't need a driver CD, you don't need anything. You just plug it right into your computer and it works. I'm going to show you that later. Okay, let's take a look at the exciting writing on the back. Of course, they give you the special ed directions for the controller. The connector, the directional pad, the select and start. Like, what's even the point of this? It's actually on the controller already, but I guess some people need it. Okay, that was just me having fun with the box. Let's take a look at the controller itself. It's very funny. It's almost like they went into a Nintendo factory and stole the plastic casings for SNES controllers, because this thing is spot on. There's only one little thing with it that is different from an original controller. The directional pad feels just like an original SNES one. It has that textured feel to it. It's very comfortable, so if you want to play Street Fighter 2 and do Ryu's Fireball, or Ryu, I'm sorry, so no one attack me, you go like this. It doesn't hurt your finger like the Retro Duo controller does. The L&R triggers are nice and responsive. This one's a little bit mushy, but it never got stuck on me and it works every time. But they're fine, they work well. And here is the best thing about this, and a lot of controllers, clone controllers anyway, fail to do this. These buttons are concave and these aren't. That's sweet. So you could tell just by, feeling them which button you're pressing. I mean, it's not a big deal, you would think, but it actually is, and it makes the controller feel a lot more authentic and a lot more comfortable. Like, they just nailed everything on this. The only thing they didn't nail is that these are plastic, not rubber. But who cares? Okay, you get to see my birds real quick. What I'm doing, I'm actually down in my kitchen. This is my kitchen computer. I'm gonna take the USB of this controller and show you how easy it is to install this controller. It really is. You plug it in and play. Like, it literally works like that. It won't crash your system like everything else on Windows. Ooh, a Windows jab right there. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Anyway, so you take it. Yep. One-handed doesn't really work too well. You plug it in. Your computer will make that bass little twang if you have Windows Vista. It's installing the drivers and was already installed successfully. It literally took 15 seconds to do that. Now, just to prove to you this thing is a very legit clone controller, if that's even legally possible, I have a licensed Nintendo controller right here. This is actually made by Nintendo, or they got a really, really good company to make them for them. I'm going to compare the two of them and show you how well this one was made. I mean, let's take a look side by side if we can right here. The directional pads on both of them feel exactly the same. And it's funny, now the original Super Nintendo controller, I got this aftermarket even though it's an officially licensed controller. These have the plastic buttons too. And these buttons are exactly the same. You know what's funny is that the Tomee USB controller looks more like a real Super Nintendo controller than the real Super Nintendo controller. That's just wrong in so many ways. My final verdict on the Tomee USB Super Nintendo controller is that it is an awesome buy. It's $14.99 US. I mean, I've played this with Super Castlevania 4, Super Mario World, Street Fighter Alpha 2, and it holds up just as well as a real Super Nintendo controller. I've also tried it with MAME. I've tried it with a Sega Genesis emulator. It's fantastic. I can't recommend it enough, and it's very affordable. Anyway, this is Rich of Review Tech USA. For more gaming and technology reviews, go to reviewtechusa.com. Thanks for watching.